Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mo, and I know I've been inactive here for a while, so if you're new here, I am building out, or as you can see, this is a little sneak peek, but I am 2 steps from finishing this. I have 1 piece of wood to cut, and then I have to connect a few things to my electrical box, but then I'm done with my van build. So this is your little sneak peek before the van rebuild. I'm building this to travel the US with my dogs and read and play video games. I have been so busy with this. I know I've been extremely inactive on socials for the most part, but I have put in so much work these last few weeks while I was also building a PC and moving around between states to see some family, and this is almost done. So if you're interested in the reveal, which I will probably be posting next week, so when I finish this week I could just sit with it for a couple days and appreciate everything I put into this. I'm so excited. To get back into this, I thought it would be fun to do a mid-year book tag that I saw everyone doing actually in the middle of the year, but I'm doing it in August because I was busy. Also, feel free to comment your own answer to any of these questions. I'd be very happy to see what you guys have to say about your reads this year and what you're looking forward to be reading. The first question of this is the best book I have read this year. Since I've gotten back into reading, I've been kind of stingy with 5 stars just because I have this certain expectation for a book to hit now. If you compared what I rate 5 stars now to what I did when I first got into reading, I still think they were fun and enjoyable at the time, but as my taste developed, I guess, so did how I rate books. This is what I'm considering my 5-star shelf, and I'm gonna keep these in the van, no questions asked. But as I read, these could potentially be changed, and then I'll either go into storage or I will sell it to a used bookstore. So my favorites this year were, so far, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab, Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, and The Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wang. Now, I loved the 3 of these books for different reasons in themselves. This was just an incredible story. The way that S.A. Cosby writes and relates with grief is incredible. He pulls you into the story and you feel what his characters feel. And the story was just moving. So if you haven't read this, I would highly recommend this every single time. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue I read in February, and it actually got me out of a reading slump. I found that this was the first book in a while that the prose just pulled me in. This was an environment that I could actually picture in my mind, and it slowed down my reading, and I was really paying attention. Not that I don't normally, but it was just, this one really pulled me in, and it was a noticeable difference. And I actually have the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy right on my little bookshelf under my camera that I'm really excited to read. I just have to get through a few books before I move on to that. While I love these 2 books, I have to say my favorite by far has been The Sword of Kaigen. I was a wreck reading this book. I've never emotionally connected to not just a character but the story overall, and there were so many parallels that I was seeing with how certain characters were feeling in situations in this to what I have experienced and what I have felt. And I actually talked to my therapist about this for 2 sessions just because of how much that it impacted me. I did talk about this on Instagram a little bit, but some things while I deployed did not go that well. And I saw a lot of what happened and how I was feeling in this book. And it got to the point where I was literally sobbing reading this. And I'm not a huge crier, I'll be honest, sobbing. And my sister was looking at me, was this book even fun to read? Like, do you even enjoy it? And I did. This was just one of the ones that really hurt. So if you're looking for emotional damage, The Sword of Kaigen for sure. That being said, this is also the book that made me sob in 2025. All right. Back on the shelf you go. Question, best sequel of 2025? That's a good question. So for this year, I've been reading a lot of standalones or first books in a series, and I've noticed I've been hopping around a lot, so I'm trying to contain that more as we go forward. But if I had to choose, I think my favorite sequels right now would be Enchantra by Kaylie Smith and Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. The One Dark Window series, if it has a series name, I am blanking on it, I'm sorry. I just really like the magic system, but I felt like the multiple points of view in the second book really gave you more insight to the characters and how everyone was feeling, and just helped the story progress. I feel like that's what gave it the edge over One Dark Window for me personally. And then Enchantra, I like the games in it, I like the aspects. I will say I still probably preferred the first one over the second, but I haven't read a lot of sequels. Actually, oh, that's a bad idea. This is also possible. Yep, you know what? My counter is over here. It's really convenient. For sequels, actually, we're gonna go into manga really quick because I don't have the first 3 volumes right now, but Kagurabachi is probably one of my favorite series that I have ever read for manga. I am absolutely in love with this series. This is the first series that I've read that I've had to wait for the translated version to be released, and it is killing me. My friend John and I actually walked in before the release date of this to a random comic store and found this. It was maybe 5 days before this was supposed to be released. I was so excited. He is 6'4", and we had a stack of books between us. He yelled over it, said, "Mo, look up," was holding this. I am 5'5" on a good day. I jumped up and grabbed it from him, and I read it immediately. I absolutely love this series. Our main character hero's father is the creator of 6 enchanted blades, and they helped end a war, and he keeps all of them hidden so power stays equal, essentially. Early on in the story, he witnesses his father being murdered, and it sets off on a revenge arc very early. One of the reasons that I love this book so much, well, one, the art. I just love the art in this. Everything is easy to see. The fight scenes are fairly easy to follow, but it's still clear, if that makes sense, because I know sometimes when things are drawn it's hard to follow. I don't think I can show you any panel from this without spoiling something, so I'm not gonna do it. Volume 1 is actually being shipped to me right now. God, I love this series so much, and I cannot wait for the next volume to be translated in November. Chihiro also relies on the other important side characters in this, and the characters that are introduced have a purpose that helps move the plot along, so you're not really you're not really introduced to a lot of characters that don't have meaning in this, and I love this series so much. The magic systems with the blades are so cool, and the character development, I'm only in volume 4, and the character development is just amazing. I love this so much. I will take no criticism for the series. If I had to pick another sequel, it would probably be another manga that my sister told me to read called Vagabond. I'll put a picture in one of these corners. Vagabond is such a beautiful story. However, unfortunately, it is also unfinished. The author has been in a hiatus for this for years, which I didn't know when I started it, but I'm still glad I read it because of how good it is. You follow a swordsman growing up who's trying to make a name for himself in a country, and he wants to be considered invincible under the sun. So he's chasing this title, he's chasing this power, he needs to be stronger. You follow him going to different towns, he's challenging people, he's very ignorant, very brash, and he's slowly learning as he goes along. And the character development for this is amazing. It's like, if you liked Attack on Titan's kind of storytelling and you love Ronin, swordsmanship, anything like that, I would highly recommend this just because of how good the storytelling is. I would say it's on par, however, I don't know the end of the series, so I can't say that. I loved Attack on Titan storytelling. I think it's one of the best. I'm one of the people that loved the ending for it. Unfortunately for the series also, because the art is so beautiful, I don't have the volumes on me, but I think I have a few pictures that I can maybe dig up on my phone. The art is immaculate. As you go through the volumes, you have watercolor paintings, but because the art is so unique, it would be very hard to animate, which is so sad because I think this would be such a beautiful series to animate because the themes and everything going on, and it's amazing. I loved it. I say sequel, but all 12 volumes are fantastic. Now that I have yapped about those for a while. 2025 new release. Let me double check this because I would say Anji Kills a King. Anji Kills a King by Evan Leikam debuted on May 13th of this year, and I loved this book. It was significantly different from what I had been reading. It's a great fantasy. What a debut, honestly. As the title would suggest, Anji, our main character, does kill the king. And you follow her as she's trying to escape, gets captured, and what I really liked about this is her skills matched what she could accomplish in trying to escape. So what she knew worked, and when she was outmatched, she was outmatched. There was no, I feel like plot armor is the wrong word, but she was definitely not getting out of a situation that she was not capable of. And I really appreciate that because for some of the books that I've been reading, characters shouldn't even be getting out of these situations, period. But getting out alive sometimes is crazy. Alive and winning? What are we doing? Because it just, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like, you're reaching. I appreciated that, like, everything made sense, but there was also some twists in here that I appreciated as well, and I can't really expand upon that without giving anything away. So I'm just gonna leave that as it is, but that has been my favorite debut novel of this year. Anticipated release for the rest of 2025. That's a good question. Yeah, I haven't paid attention to this one. Like, I have The Will of the Many, but I'm saving reading that until The Strength of the Few is closer to being released so I remember more. So I'm just gonna leave that as it is. Biggest disappointment of 2025. Oh, yeah. Ready Player 2. Okay, so before you feel any type of way for how I just said that, I loved Ready Player One. I loved everything about it. For people who didn't enjoy this book, I feel like they didn't really look at who the audience was for this, because it was honestly very specific. Like, yes, it was very 80s coded video games. People in reviews were upset of how much 80s, like how much it drew from that certain time frame, which is insane because it's literally mentioned. Like, did you even look at what you picked up to read? So I loved Ready Player One, and Ready Player Two was just, it was like a lot was thrown at you, but you're like crawling at a snail's pace. And I was just so disappointed because I loved the Oni headset transition. I loved how it progressed into a more futuristic take on gaming. I thought it was so cool. But the book itself, I didn't care for it. I feel like, if anything, you could just read Ready Player One and pretend there's not a sequel. I'm sorry, I really didn't enjoy it. I finished it, but it was one of the ones where I had to drag myself through it because I wanted to see it through because I liked Ready Player One so much. I convinced myself that this was going to get better, and it didn't really get better. Also, one of the other things that kind of bothered me is the covers felt completely different. If I had them in my hands, I gave them to my friend to read with the warning about book 2. But the covers just felt completely different and it kind of threw me off. Anyways, next biggest surprise of the year, I think, would have to be the Echo of Old Books, which was recommended to me by my older sister. She's fantastic at finding random books in like thrift stores that she would really enjoy. I'm blanking on the main character's name, but basically it's a story about her finding these two books that are story combined. So you have one version from one point of view and another version from the other person's point of view. And there's so much emotion in this between the stories, and one of the cool things is the main character can feel what the last readers have felt on these books. Unfortunately, that doesn't really get expanded on as much as I would have liked it to have, but the story in itself was amazing. I feel like the author did a great job at having different voices and really like pulling you into the different stories. I don't know if necessarily the main character's point of view was necessary to tie everything together, but overall I still really enjoyed this book. It was very different from what I have read ever, and I loved it. The other one that surprised me, I didn't expect to like Fahrenheit 451 as much as I did. Let me put you on because my sister and brother-in-law own the Ghent in Norfolk, Virginia, and they do a lot of book stuff. And if you're into any events, they have a lot going on. So if you're from the area or surrounding area, feel free to go look at that. They had a book fair, and I got this for $3. Was it on my TBR? Yes. Do I had books to read before that? Probably, but this was $3 and I wasn't passing it up. For Fahrenheit 451, I did find out a lot of people read this in school, but I don't remember this being offered as a choice or going over it in class in middle or high school. And I don't know if that's because I took AP classes or whatever. I'm not like just throwing that out there, but what I do remember is reading The Stranger by Albert Camus and The Great Gatsby, but that was in 11th grade with the same professor, and I absolutely loved his class. But I didn't expect this to like this as much as I did, and I didn't think it would have much more important themes outside of reading. I think this brings in how all forms of media are important, and it's important to read things that have depth. But basically, whoever controls the media controls the mind, and I think that's touched on very nicely in this. Is it written weirdly at some points? Yes, but overall, I think this is a book that almost everybody should read just to be aware and maybe kind of get the thoughts flowing, thinking for themselves. Favorite new author? I've bounced around so much that I've only been reading like one book per author so far, but if I had to, I would probably base off of my favorites this year. I want to read Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wang. I want to read more of S.A. Cosby, and I am definitely reading more of V.E. Schwab. Outside of that, I can't really... Oh, I do like R.F. Kuang. I read a couple of her books already, and I did enjoy them. But outside of that, I can't... Like, no one's popping up in my head as of right now. So I think I'm going to have to stick with those three for the time being. Favorite new character? I really like Chihiro still. I will probably love him forever. I started watching Bleach. I like Yurichi for sure. Urahara. I really liked Atsu from Vagabond. I also like Takeru. Or Takeru. That's the author. Whoopsie. Those are probably my favorite new characters. Yes, they're from manga and anime. However, those specifically are so well developed in my opinion that it kind of washed a lot of the other characters because none of them are coming to mind. So I guess I don't really... Oh, I also like Hitsugaya from Bleach. I think he's going to have an amazing arc just because he's a childhood genius with his abilities, but now he's going to actually have to work because of something that happens, and I can't wait to see that arc. Our next question. A book that made me cry. Sword of Kaigen, hands down. Bowling. A book that made me happy. Yeah, okay. The most beautiful book I bought this year. Oh, 100%. I have two covers. Two covers. This is also on my TBR, but I got this edition of The Count of Monte Cristo that I think is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm very excited to read this. I actually saw this one in the bookstore, and I gave my hard copy to a friend so I can have this one because it's so pretty. So those are probably the two most... I love these covers so much. Okay, I'm going to kind of rapid fire these because there's a lot. One Among Crows by Veronica Roth. This I kept seeing on Dylan's social media, and he said it's one of the best fantasies he's ever read. And it is, I think, under 200 pages. Mistborn and maybe more of the Cosmere as we keep going by Brandon Sanderson. The Name of the Wind. The Malazan series. Probably not going to finish all of this, but I want to start. The Lies of Locke Lamora. Scythe, City of Brass, probably one of my more anticipated reads of this year. I can't wait to start this. This one too, Jade City, Fauna Lee. I've heard nothing but good things. Oh, and I guess this one too, Red Rising, the whole series. The Temeraire series. I honestly don't really know what it's about, but Brandon Sanderson talks about this in high regard, so I was very curious. V.E. Schwab, whatever I get to. A Song of Legends Lost. Legendborn, the Sun Eater series, this duology. I think it might actually be a trilogy, but I've heard this is very funny and the characters are great. Six of Crows. I'm in the middle of Shadow and Bone trilogy right now. I read the first chapter of this and I'm super excited to get back to it because I'm still thinking about this first chapter and I read it like 6 weeks ago and I remember it. Which is weird. I have memory issues, so that's huge. I can't wait to get back to this. And The Assassin's Apprentice, Robin Hobb. I do in my storage unit have Malice by John Gwynne, and I'm really excited to get into him as an author. I haven't read anything from him. I think those are like the bigger ones. Oh, my dad actually, I don't know where the first book is, and my camera's about to die, so we're just gonna use this. He gave me the whole Wheel of Time series and some other, The Sword of Shannahara, I think is what it is, and some Terry Goodkind. Like, he gave me so many books, and I would love to start this series. I just don't know if I'm gonna get to it yet. We'll see. Damn, I gotta clean up. I hope this was fun to go through with me. Welcome back to my channel. Again, if you're new here, I'm happy to see you. My next few videos will be about the van build, why it's taken me over 2 years to build this, and the PC that I just built, and how to build one if you're curious. At least a mini ITX. And basically, it's more of a lessons learned kind of thing. So if you're curious, if I could build it, you can build it. That's essentially what it's going to be going for. If you're interested in anything like that, like I said, use your free will, follow along. I also have 2 really cute dogs that are inside, just not in here because I'm trying to get this clean as I'm finishing, and then I'll let them in. Harvey and Kahlua, they're very cute and I love them a lot. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm happy and excited to actually be posting more consistently again, and I will see you next video. How much time? 35. Huh. It surprises me still how much I could just yap when no one's actually listening, like here. The Amazon lady and the guy running his dog back and forth heard me talking to myself like 3 times, so that was cool. I'll see you next video for real. This time, go read.